Oh, we're live.
What?
Woo!
Sunday.
Missing somebody.
He's
We ain't missing nobody.
he's he's over there plotting jokes
Here.
out about your mustache.
No, not his
Tonight,
mustache.
tonight we got Greg on here. Been trying to get him on here for a while, and he's just always so busy. He says I work on Sundays.
How about them Chiefs? Yep, they're going to the Super Bowl.
Turn the TV off, Chris.
It's off. That ain't even on.
Oh boy.
They done won.
Look, I don't care how many baskets the Chiefs made. I'm just waiting on racing season.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead. We had a deal on my Facebook page. I gave it a couple of days. I weighed the truck and I did my first giveaway. We have some cooler cups and we have some stickers that we're going to have, hopefully to sell, do some giveaways or whatever. Try to help fund my racing program. And plus they're cheap, inexpensive, and who doesn't want to be a 573 boy? So we did a.
So, question: Do you guys have to get those tattoos covered up with this new area code coming out, or how's that work?
We're going to keep the same area code.
Oh,
Yeah. So even if they change it, you're still going to have to dial 573 to get a hold of me or Chris.
oh, okay.
I've done confirmed it with Southwestern Bell. No, I mean, what do you do? Dadgummit, they're always. I don't know why they're doing that, but well, I do know, but that is what it is. So, okay, so the winner and her guess on the truck is Michelle Taylor. I don't know if she watches my live feeds, but it's Michelle Taylor. She guessed 3,005 pounds, and the actual weight was 3,010 pounds. So, Michelle, I don't know if you watch or not. I'll be getting a hold of you. You may watch the live feeds. I'm not sure, but we will. I'll get in touch with you, Michelle, and you may not even want it. And if not, that's fine. We'll go from there. I'll get a hold of you. Thanks, everybody. I got a ton of people trying to guess the weight of that truck, and really got a lot of comments on that. I didn't realize people actually looked at my Facebook page that much.
Must have been all the
Mike,
shit.
I haven't done one of these. I don't know if I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm off here, but I can't share it on Facebook, so I don't know if normally you can. But
yeah, I don't know how any. I've always been the host, Greg, so I don't really know myself.
okay, I didn't know if there was a privacy setting or something, but I was going to share it, but I can't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't. I think you got to do. I think you have to go on to Facebook and share my page. You know, I think I'm not 100% sure, and I mean, it ain't no big deal. So,
Yeah.
It ain't no big deal.
I don't even try to do that. I'm just glad I can get on here the way I am.
Well, before we get too serious, Chris, you got your car this weekend, right?
Yes, I got it today. Picked it up today.
So you had a little bit of a dilemma, and I'll show this. Chris waits, rainiest day of the year. I've got to go get this right now. Okay. So that happened to Chris. I had to go pull him out with my Chevrolet pickup.
You did not.
How'd you get it out?
I got a tractor out here. I just got the tractor and pulled it. Got my brother and he got the tractor and we pulled it out.
Yeah. But he finally got his car. Here, he's sent me this. He wanted everybody to know it was going in the trailer at Eric's house. It's done. He's ready to now start putting the motor in it and whatever else is he's got to do. But no more waiting on his welder.
He's still got a little to do, but I got enough done that I can bring it here.
So what are you putting in there? A 4-cylinder?
Yeah.
It ain't much more than that.
It's about what it is.
Well, at least it's done.
The hood down.
At least it's done to a point where you can start doing some work to it, and you can get that underway, and maybe we can get it wired up, and then Eric can finish what he's got to do.
Yeah, it won't take too long. Who's Facebook user? He said he got the engine. Yes, I got the engine. Sitting in my shop.
I don't know why it does that sometimes. It doesn't give me a name either.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris does have
There
the
we go.
Chris Farley. How are y'all? What's going on, Chris? So I got this. I'll show what I did this weekend real quick. Maybe I won't. There it is. So I spent about 6 hours doing that. Why is that so big? Wow, that took up the whole page. Do it again. Yeah. Yeah, I spent about 6 hours trying to get that thing in line with the help of Mitch Lydecker. We finally got it close enough that it did drive straight today. Felt good. Everything felt okay. We did have some other problems. Won't really talk about it right now, but the truck drives good.
Carolina squat.
Well, I like to call it tooted up. I think that's what they call it in drag racing is tooted up. Greg, what you got? You gathering up stuff there, probably going to make fun of me and Chris. What are you doing over there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You got a stack of papers you printed off or something.
Don't worry about those. Don't worry about those.
I hear you.
Those come in later.
Yeah.
I'm curious where this is going.
Yeah. There's no telling.
It's just, oh, I don't know. Mike's visited my dyno a few times. Just in case the trash talk gets carried away, I have those.
Yeah, a couple.
A couple. They don't have to come out, but just in case the trash talk gets going.
Well, I mean, they can. I will talk about it. We can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know what this one is. I have Mike Foster in here with a 300 horse. I don't know. I don't remember this truck. It says it's like a 2000 Silverado. I do not remember this. So I have no idea what that was, but I printed it. But I do have the beater.
Oh yeah.
What's that one say? 800 or set? It was 8 something, wasn't it? 813. Yeah, look at that curve though.
830. That's more than you got now.
Yeah, it was 8. We made it made 813, and we had an issue. It only turned. What's that? Does that tell the RPMs on there? I think it was.
Yeah.
Like,
So 5,500.
Oh, was it that much?
Roughly. So if I remember right, this was the day that you said you were going to rip my dyno out of the ground, if I recall.
Yeah, he even had to retorque the bolts on the rack.
I just, I did just for safety. It's supposed to be done yearly anyway. So, I think you had an issue with the boost with your solenoid somehow. They weren't actually. You weren't making much for boost. I don't think you could get the boost. Yeah.
The plastic T. At that time, I just had 2 solenoids and a plastic T connecting them, and it was split in the middle. And it wouldn't. Anytime it tried to apply CO2, it couldn't. I mean, it was leaking it all.
Yeah. So if I remember right, you went back to the shop and you got it figured out. Which you were just shaking it down on my dyno anyway. You weren't trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, you were making jokes, but you weren't trying to make 11 billion horsepower that day. The last time you were here, you had a much more capable engine, and you called it well before you were done. So it's not like you're actually trying to make a gob of power, but you were trying to diagnose it and shake it down, and you found an issue.
Yep.
And that's, it's one of the beautiful things about a dyno. You're not going down the road. You find the issue. Okay, yeah, let's figure this out. Let's fix it.
Yep.
You went back to your shop, hooked it up to the air compressor, figured it out, worked it until you got everything working right. And boom.
Yeah,
wasn't
that during coronavirus? Is that or no? Yeah, that was during. No,
I've got a date on the file, but I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because that we went to your dyno, we fixed the problem. And it was real right then is when the coronavirus hit. So we didn't even get to race much. We went to Sykeston one weekend for testing. And then we went to Jackson, Tennessee. And that's when that motor come apart. Yeah, that was during coronavirus. Yep.
Yeah, it was when everything was crazy. And I think you were just trying to test, and the track was because we had canceled.
Yes.
We'd canceled an event, and we actually moved it to VIR.
Yeah.
And a highway patrolman,
Yep.
very nice guy, showed up, and he was like, "Look, I don't want to arrest anybody because we've been told if we don't have to have contact with anybody, don't.
Right.
Go home."
Yep.
And some of us left, some of us didn't. He came back. By the time he got back, we were gone. We'd gotten a heads up. But what was interesting is what we found out like 2 days later is the day before or a couple days before, he had helped an older person in a car accident and had been up close and personal. And that man had coronavirus and had given it to him. So he actually was the one that had it
Yeah.
at the event, but we had canceled at the track, given into a little bit of pressure from people that were like, "Oh my God, it's great. You can't do this. You can't do this. If it spreads, you're going to be held liable." And of course, we know how all that came out now, but we canceled it and just went,
Yeah.
that away.
Yeah, because somebody, when he pulled up out there, he was talking about we can't have this many in a crowd. You guys got to go. And then somebody was trying to get him to race him.
I think it was Barry. I think it was Barry Nupp.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was trying to get the cop to race him.
There can't be.
I know.
You're right here, Eric. Right here.
Yeah, you got a soft spot for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the next time we went to the dyno though was in the El Camino.
Yes.
And I'm pretty positive. I'm really positive that I could own the dyno record right now. I'm also with the El Camino.
Well, you could have.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not going to make any bones about that. At the time, you absolutely could have. So my dyno record, when we bought that dyno, I had just put a stock engine in my Camaro to go trade it in on my F-150. And so I didn't want to put the Camaro on it when it was originally at Adam Allen's and we got it fired up. And Adam was like, "If you're not putting your Camaro on there, I'm putting my Mustang on there." And I want to say it made like 1137 or something like that. First car on the dyno, just, probably out of fuel pump and just ripping some power. And anyway, that record stayed until like September of 19, the day before LS Fest, and the F-150 made 1231. And then that stayed for a few years until we had another F-150 on there that made 1398. His wastegate hung open.
Oh.
Or hung shut, I mean. And he made 39 pounds of boost, lifted the head, but he made 1398.
Right.
And if he hadn't taken the dyno record, Don, I don't know if he wants me putting it out there, but he would have beat it by some number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got
He was in the, I don't remember his exact numbers, but I want to say that he had exceeded my number. And I'm not going to tell you he didn't have more in it. But that being said, when you were on the dyno, I'm pretty confident that the dyno record was still 1231. And you weren't running a lot of boost when you made 4 digits. I'm pretty sure you got
12 pounds.
You got in. Yeah. So the other LSX cars, we've had a car here that also should have taken the dyno record. And we got up to 35 pounds of boost, but it was blowing through the converter. So it made over 1,000 at like 14 pounds. But after that, as we added boost, the power just fell off and fell off and fell off. According to the fuel flow, it was 16 or 1700 horsepower, but there's no number to show. And that's unfortunately, that's just how it is with the dyno. I mean, it's going to show the number it makes it to the tires. So it doesn't matter how everything else looks. If it's not being efficient, getting it to the tires, you'll never make a number.
Right.
Somebody wants to see my boobies. Look, man, I'm going to tell you, I have an OnlyFans account, but I really don't want to put it all over Mike's thing here. So
We
DM me.
can.
We could talk about that later.
Yeah, we can. We sure can.
I promise you, they're not that impressive.
I think I've actually got the link right here. Hang on. I do have the link. Yeah. Let me see.
See, Donnie Smith's on here.
Roxy's on here. Hi, Roxy.
That's so it's
Drive
this is-
careful.
That's it right there. OnlyFans. Sexy Greg Adams.
Dang.
Hit him up, ladies. Sorry, Roxy.
She gets nicer vacations if I make money, so she's okay with it.
Right. For some reason, we've had this happen before. It just shows Facebook user. I don't remember what we had to do before to fix that. So if you guys are commenting and we don't say your name or we can't understand it's because it's not showing your name. We don't know what's going on. Seemed like last time people were commenting from other sources of social media and it was doing that Facebook user instead of your name.
Some of them I see.
Yeah, I don't.
Some of them you don't.
Yeah, I don't.
The ones with names I can see on the Facebook post, but the ones without names aren't showing up.
So they must be commenting from another source of social media.
Yeah.
Or what I'm saying is I go live on 4 social media, my YouTube, my personal page, and then a couple of my group pages as well. So they must be commenting from the group pages and it's not reporting back as their name. I don't know. So
Facebook
Anyway.
user says, Greg knows me. I drive an ugly SN95. That doesn't narrow it down.
that's every SN95 on the market.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Some Facebook users said they heard Taz got to see some new light and fresh air. And yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Now, where's it at now? In your shop?
Yep.
You got it home? Yeah. It's
Thank
not still in the trailer, is it?
Still in the trailer.
Oh, boy. You mean you pushed Eric for all these days and hurry, and you go get it, and it's still in the trailer?
Brother's got the shop full. I got to get a truck out of there to get the car in.
He'd have it full, all right. I'd have his crap sitting in the yard.
Well, it's will be here shortly.
Look
If
at
it wasn't
Chris.
so wet and muddy, and I have proof of that, it would have already be out. But it'll be out tomorrow or Tuesday.
Hey, Eric, what's up? So, Greg, another reason I got you on here is I really wanted you to kind of talk about I really wanted you to talk about some of this newer platform stuff that you're getting into and things like that. Some of the
Anything specific?
I mean, really,
we of course we deal with GM, Ford, Dodge, late model, LSLT, Hemi, and Coyote. So we kind of have a somewhat wide palette that we deal with. Like, this car behind me, it's a 300C that's been Hellcat swapped, and they did a really good job. They swapped everything over. And what did it make? I think it made 737 the other day with fully injectors and a tune. So, but yeah. Oh, I know who that is. That's going to be Lance. That's Lance. It's Facebook user, Lance
okay.
Clark.
Okay.
But yeah, like what particularly do you want to talk about or get into?
Well, you and I were talking a little bit the other day about you were saying what you would like to do, what you have coming up, or what you might be doing, but then you were saying something about the tunability on some of these platforms is kind of coming to a halt, maybe.
Right.
And that's
yeah. So starting the first salvo fired by OEMs to keep people out, really, at least domestically, was Dodge. In 2015, they made it where you had to unlock the PCMs to do anything to them. We have a whole wall of PCMs. If somebody needs a tune, we send off a spare PCM, get it unlocked, get it back, swap it out. It was a pain, but it wasn't the end of the world. In 2017, Ford increased their encryption security. But we knew what was coming, which was global A security measures. So global A, global B, global C are 256K encryption. It's basically if you have a Chase bank account and you log into your information, that information online is secured with 256K encryption. So you're talking millions of dollars behind how they designed this coding. And there was a big concern if anybody was going to crack it or not. So HB Tuners was pretty confident in, I think it was 20 or 21 that they cracked global A. Now by 21, C8 Corvette's out. It's global B. They've already gone to the next generation. Ford with the F-150 in 21 secured those cars. So those cars, I think they finally here about 8 months ago started allowing you to be able to tune the 21 up F-150s. They've been also secured. Now, it's considerably more expensive. So
Yeah.
5 years ago when I bought this dyno, I would have a family bring me 3 trucks in the same day, you know, brothers, uncles, and dad, whatever, and we would tune them. Those days are kind of gone. We have, so my GMC is tuned. My white Silverado I had before that is tuned. Those are actually the only two 19 up Silverados that we have tuned. Because it can easily be $1,000 or more just to get them unlocked. That's not all the other tuning costs.
Right.
And so we have a cam for the GMC. We have a converter. We have lots of other parts, and it's been unlocked since I bought it months ago. So we're going to throw a camshaft in it and beat the snot out of it, and get all the tuning down. Because what's happening? If you call me and you say, "Hey, Greg, I've got a 22 Silverado and I want to tune it," and I say, "Man, it's going to be about $900 or whatever the cost is to tune that truck," you're going to be like, "I just want the DOD shut off or whatever."
Yeah.
It's not worth $900. So what they're doing is they're buying like a range. You plug into the OBD2 port, it shuts it off. But when those lifters go out, and we know they will go out,
absolutely.
That's when it becomes beneficial to tune them. And we usually see at my shop, of course, we're in, here in Southeast Missouri. We're not like in St. Louis where everybody's, you have a larger customer base, but we see a 4 to 5 year lead time before new platforms really start getting around down here. So not that people aren't buying new trucks, but before the cost is coming down and people are buying them secondhand and they feel like throwing money at them to modify them because they're not seeing the $70,000 new price. They're seeing their $40,000 or $30,000 U sticker. And so we are starting to get calls on those lifters going out on trucks and they're wanting to tune them. So that is progressing, but the big news was about 4 months ago, I think. HB Tuners cracked Global B, which is your C8 Corvette, your Blackwing, your 22 up SUVs, your 22 up Silverados and GMCs, the Escalade Vs, all that stuff was Global B. And while it's like, well, big news, it's a Corvette. Well, they made more Corvettes every year than they made Camaros starting in 2020. They made 55,000 last year. They're making like 222 a day. I think last Tuesday they made 222 of them. So they're all V8s, whereas a Camaro, 40% are V8 or whatever the number is. So this has actually become a very large market thanks to the C8, but you couldn't do anything with them. And so people were using Hollies to piggyback them, or if they needed to get more shift pressure, they make some boxes that would trick the shift pressure to put more pressure on the clutches because they're all DCT. But nobody was putting that effort into the other platforms that were Global B. So they have Global B cracked. They have not yet cracked the DCTs. It's the same DCT that a Shelby GT500 uses. They have some parameters unlocked on the GT500, but GT500s are not Global B. It's a different communication network. So they're trying to crack the Global B side, and then they'll go in there and get those parameters lined out. And in the midst of all this, things got dramatically more complicated because the Z06 comes out. Now, it is actually the same computer, according to Eric Brooks with HB Tuners, as a 21 up F-150. which makes sense. It's dual overhead cam.
Yeah.
It's got like 5 throttle bodies on it, right? 2 for the air inlet and then 3 for cross plenum torque. You have a lot of things going on with that unit that Bosch made that PCM for. So they've cracked that PCM and they've cracked Global B, but not everything on this computer is Global B. Some of it is Global C, because what happened is once they figured out that people were able to plug in and modify stuff, even with like a range device,
Right.
they wanted to cut that out. So now you have Global C where that's cut out. And interestingly enough, the Z06 is part Global B, part Global C. They can crack the Global B stuff, but then the Global C doesn't want to communicate and play nice. And you have just a whole, it's a mess.
Yeah.
I think we lost one. So
You probably got a phone call.
yeah. So what they are, that's what they're working on now. But if you want to get really complicated, we were excited for an E-Ray, because even though a lot of classes won't let that in because it's technically all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't know if it's Global B or Global C. Nobody has physically gotten their hands on the cars yet. They haven't shipped them out. They made,
Nobody knows.
they made 12 of them Tuesday.
Yeah.
But a dealer has not gotten an allocation. Those are press cars and whatever.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if people watching aren't familiar with the E-Rays, they have batteries in the transmission tunnel. They're very small batteries. They are not an electric car. They have 2 electric motors in the front, one on each front drive axle, that add, I'm wanting to say it's like 160 horse. And on a launch, you can have stealth mode. You can just run off the electric motors and you can go up to like 2.5 miles. It's not very far. But the big thing with them is the acceleration. Those cars do 0 to 60 in like 2.4 on a street tire and 10.5 in the quarter mile and whatever. But they're 3 computers. You have one controlling the electric motors, your standard computer controlling the engine, and then one in the middle telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Is that ever going to get cracked? I don't know, because the next thing they're going to have is like the ZR1, which is going to be turbo, and then they're going to have they're rumored to have a Dora, which is going to be twin turbo, but still have the electric motors in the front. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a demand, but those are $180,000 cars. How many are they going to produce? Is HP Tuner's going to have enough
Support
demand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demand to give a shit about support. What
Right.
about the Dodge? I mean, so I had a buddy of mine that had a Dodge with a Hemi, and I think it was a 21 or 22 pickup that had the I don't know the specific name, E-Torque or something. Basically,
E-Torque.
yeah, it had the alternator, which was basically a generator, or it's an assisted. I don't really know what it was. I'm calling it an alternator, but it was basically an electric motor that freed up horsepower on the engine.
Right.
Have you ever messed with one of those? I mean, have you ever
So we haven't. Now, fortunately, I believe that there is some limited support for those through HP Tuners. And they are aware of them. They came out in 19. Now, let me look real quick on the supported vehicles. But again, I think it may end up being the same kind of problem, because let's say you want to put a camshaft in a car.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just you put a camshaft and now you have to change the fueling parameters. Modern vehicles are ran off torque control modules. And if you don't recalibrate those, it doesn't know how much torque it's making. It knows by airflow, but it checks it with its own torque modules.
Yeah.
So actually
go ahead.
Well, yeah. So if your computer says, hey, if you want 200 foot-pounds and it wants to pull it from the engine, but your calculation's wrong, you're going to get too much throttle or not enough throttle, and then that e-motor is going to kick in and do something stupid.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some serious drivability issues. And the reason it's so topical is because this is pretty well the future. We're either going to have electric cars or we're going to have hybrid cars, and a lot of gasoline only stuff is potentially going to go to the wayside. Camaro's gone, Challenger and Charger. The Hemi is gone. It's gone in the Ram. It's gone in every platform. And one of the Ford engineers at PRI was very clear. He said there is no hope for a Hemi to pass emissions. When they increase the next level of emission standard, Hemi didn't have a hope. And when you think about it, the Hemis as they exist today, outside of the Hellcat stuff, has been the same since 2009. They've been the same for 15 years. In modern climate, with the way that technology is advancing, you cannot leave a platform the same for 15 years. And so what happened is they let that platform get so long in the tooth. Now the emission standards are changing, and they have to really revamp it, and they can't. You know,
well, you know how Dodge. So you've heard about Dodge getting the lawsuit from the government on them on their diesels.
yes.
So you know how they were passing emissions on them, the same way Volkswagen was been doing it since day one. Dodge just shut the crap off unless it was an emissions dyno or the filter got to a certain level that it needed to regen. Other than that, Dodge was shutting it off. And if I remember right, the lawsuit, it ended up being, now you got to think how many trucks with the Cummins they made. It was like $2,200 a truck is what it boiled down to.
1.3 billion.
It was an astronomical number. And I was like, well, good for Dodge, shut that crap off. Cause it's killing us here as far as you can't hardly get the parts to fix it. It's expensive to fix on the DEF system. And then come to find out that led into also finding out that Volkswagen has been doing that since day one. And that's why Volkswagen don't ever have problems with theirs, because it don't run half the time.
So the Volkswagen Dieselgate, the way they found that out was interesting. Somebody was doing an emission study by the highway in Europe, and they put a portable sniffer, and it would record the license plate so they could pull the make and model of the car, and it would record the emissions when it passed. And what they discovered was every time a damn Volkswagen went by, it didn't pass.
Right.
And they're going, so they put one on the dyno and it passes. And they're going,
yeah.
What the hell? So they figured out, however, it's actually, they took two different strategies to that, as I understand, and I could be wrong, which is Volkswagen, if you put it on the dyno, it recognized it was in the dyno, it entered emissions reduction mode and passed. Cummins actually did it a different way that makes way more sense to me, and which is why it was so hard to find, which is 80 or 90% of the time or more, it was in emissions mode. But when you put the throttle all the way down,
right,
it would kick out. And honestly, I don't see nearly as much problem with that, but obviously I don't have three little alphabet letters by my name.
Right.
I think it's borderline ridiculous because you're doing both. You're reducing emissions, but also giving people exactly what they want when it's required. Only when it's required, when you have that throttle all the way down.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's 1.3 billion, and they have to fix every one of them. And I'm going to guess, knowing the Cummins owners that I know, that's not going to be a very long line at the local dealership.
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly what I said. I have a few customers that have asked about that. They said, what do you think the fix will be? And I'm like, well, you're going to get a recall letter in the mail, and it's going to tell you that, your vehicle has a recall, a software update, a ECU update, whatever, and, kind of give you an idea of what it's going to do. And then you're to call your dealer, schedule your appointment. And they're like, well, what if we don't schedule the appointment? And I'm like, then you don't have to do it. I mean, they're like, well, we're not doing that shit. I'm like, well, I don't blame you.
Right.
But I mean, whatever. Nonetheless, I find that very, very interesting.
Well, GM announced they are spending, I forget how many, like 200, 300, 400 million dollars or whatever the number is on their Gen 6 small blocks. And I think they're going to be much more similar to the LT6 in the Z06, although obviously not flat plane crank.
Yeah.
Which is dual overhead cam with just a host of it. I mean, it's the highest naturally aspirated small block V8 ever released in a production environment, in something with a VIN. So, and then they had the Blackwing that they didn't keep for very long, but it was only like 1 or 2 model years in their Cadillac Blackwing. It was a twin turbo, but it was an inverse engine where the exhaust comes into the center and feeds the turbo in the V.
Yeah.
And they make really good power. If they'd made it for more than 2 years, I would buy one. But it's what am I promoting? There's only 2,000 of them out there. But
right. Yeah.
They are doing that. I think a lot of that is really practice, T-ball practice for when they mass produce the
Yeah.
next engine, which
when
is
they have to. Yeah.
yeah. And they spent, I think it was like 50 million computational hours on the Gen 5, the LT stuff, to try to get the emissions down, and get the fuel efficiency up. When they go to this Gen 6, obviously they're almost going to have to go away from push rods to get the valve arrangement and the chambers and everything the way they want. And with dual overhead cam to get the cam timing where they can get away from emissions. When you look in a Ford computer, there's actual emissions sections to the file where when it's got an emissions mode. It has a reduction, emissions reduction. And I don't know if it does it when it thinks it's on a smog check or in certain parameters while driving, but it goes into emissions reduction. And you'll probably see something very similar on the next GM small block, but at least they're making one.
Right.
They're
Yeah, they're not
confident
gonna-
that
they're
they
not
can
gonna
make
quit.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me get caught up on some of these comments. Looks like Chris is setting his motor in tomorrow night. I don't know who said that, but
Me neither. I wish it was true.
well, you never know.
I'll put it in
Roxy, Greg, you got a good one. I'm telling you.
I do.
You read all that?
I did.
Greg,
I tried to reply over here, but yeah,
I
she saw it.
hear you. Thank you. What you doing, Brian? No. Then Michael Penrose wants to know why you look so sad tonight. Did Eric not work on your car? No, Michael, it's done. He's got it in the trailer in his backyard. He ain't even got it in the shop yet.
It ain't done, but it's done enough I can work on it. Here.
Well, whatever. It's done enough he can work on it. And he's sitting in the house in his underwear right now when he could be working on it.
I'm getting ready for the storm, believe me.
Oh, boy. I am too, actually. And I swear, if you come over with 500 foot of red wire, you're going home with 500 foot of red wire.
Well, hopefully he puts some pants on before he comes over.
Right.
Man,
Well,
hard.
I've seen him without pants before, so won't be the first time.
Good thing
Don't
your
want to know.
shop's heated.
You've got the heat on? Are you talking about my shop?
Your shop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I started to say, well, you actually turn the heat on in your shop?
Yep.
Yeah, Eric. Eric says when that Chevelle left his property value went up 40 grand. You believe that?
Retarded.
Eric, what you and I talked about the other day on the phone, I won't need you for a little while. I got other issues, so I don't need no exhaust done. So I got a hold of Eric, and he said, man, just Chris's car's leaving today, and I wanted some exhaust work done on my little truck. He's like, yeah, we'll get that in and have it done in a week. He's like, I don't know why Chris is taking so long. Can't get him over to work. And he's in the way whenever I try to do something.
These are full of shit. I never one time was the one we was waiting on.
So Eric, I might have some work for you soon.
There you go,
Hit me
Eric. There you go.
It's about time for the next project.
So does anybody even know what you're doing or what you got in mind, or is that you still just kind of kicking that around? Or
It's being kicked around. We've got a list. The Ford for sale. We are refreshing the transmission, putting it back together.
Yeah.
I've had that thing for 6 years now, almost, and that's by far the longest I've had a vehicle. So, per our conversation earlier, we were looking at a newer platform other than the GMC that we're going to build. So, turbos may or may not end up being part of that equation.
Yeah, I got you.
We'll see. So yeah, we've got a couple of I've got it narrowed down to about 3 or 4 different potential
Yeah.
things.
So,
but
well, what does that mean? What does that have to? Well, I wonder what I'm trying to say. What's the outcome on your tuning when all this stuff gets to where it's either not feasible to tune or people are not wanting to tune it? I mean, obviously you still got the older stuff that people still have, but I mean, does that get you into maybe even into the realm of going into the aftermarkets, which I know you already do them, but I mean, would you push harder to get the Holley, the Hall Tech, Fuel Tech, stuff like that? I mean, are you just...
So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a split in customers, right? You're going to have customers that are going to buy the newer vehicles and whether they're electric or hybrid or lockdown or whatever. And then you're going to have the customers that are going to say, screw this, I'm going to buy the old stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're going to be buying your 5th gen Camaro, 6th gen Camaro, C7 Corvette, C6, or older stuff and LS swapping it or whatever. And I think you're going to see, you know, we became a Holley dealer a couple of years ago, and we've been, I think we're up like 250% last year, and we're trying to build that. And that's why. Roxy has a 79 Corvette where LS swapping the engines at the engine builders right now being gone through. You know, we're going to do a 480 and put Holley in it and use it as a showpiece for
I mean,
that kind of work.
So all the LS swaps that you tune nowadays, I mean, do you even see, I guess, what's the percentage of Holley versus factory ECU in these LS swaps?
Quickly going up. We are not seeing, and so there's two sides to this. Okay. If you want to cut down your own harness, you can.
Yeah.
But you know how labor intensive that is, especially if it's the first time you've done it and you're trying to walk through the wiring schematics and cut this down. The next option is you can buy a complete harness from whatever company, okay, Painless or whoever. And that might be $800 or $900, okay, for a harness ready to go.
Right.
And you still have a computer that's now 20, 25 years old.
Yeah.
And we see more and more failure rate. Not that we don't see Holley failure rate. We had one last week, but they also had hot glued it to a panel, which probably not the best.
Perfect
thing. Right. So
no hot glue, Chris.
Damn it.
Yeah, no hot glue. No hot glue. So what we're seeing, what we're telling people is if they're doing an LS swap, we would prefer to see a Holley because you have, not that there can't be something wrong with it, but you have a new wiring harness. You have a brand new ECU with wideband control, because until the C8 Corvette, GM did not use wideband control in any V8 platform. They used it in like the little turbo Cobalts back in 2009, and they had direct injection and all this cool stuff in those, but they wouldn't put it in the V8s. So now you have a wideband control and you have safety there. You have the ability to log fuel pressure if it's an older platform. Some of the Gen 4, Gen 5 stuff will log fuel pressure. Your older stuff won't. Now you have a dedicated terminal on your harness for that. So we are pushing, if you're LS swapping into anything older that didn't originally come with an LS, go Holley.
Yeah, well, and Holley's coming out more and more every day. It seems like now they've got 6L80 control. They've got they're moving into the VVT stuff, or the you know, the, what am I trying to think of? The cam, the oh crap,
Gen 5, the variable valve timing, and the Coyotes.
Variable,
yeah, they have control for the Coyotes.
Yeah, and they have control for the direct injection now, don't they? Don't they have the driver module controls the direct injection, or
they do? So there are still limits. If you're doing a Gen 5 LT, you can control the direct injection, but you can't do port and direct off the same controller, if I understand it correctly. Now, they are supposedly working on that because Gen 3 Coyote is factory that way, and they're talking about releasing for that. They are doing the variable valve timing, but only on Gen 5. So they've got some stuff locked out. Some of the Gen 4 had it. You can't use it on that. Gen 5 LT, you can use it. And then on the Coyote, we did a Mach 1 Mustang, I think, or a Boss. I think it was a Boss for a D-Bolt. We sold him a Holley controller. They put a Boss Coyote engine in an original Boss.
69, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked great. Now, asterisk, Coyote, and the LS guys don't like hearing me say this, but when it comes to the computer, they are ahead. They have 2 widebands, and their knock sensor will both take out and add ignition timing if it doesn't see any noise. So you can take a brand new Coyote, put race gas in it, and it's going to make an extra 20 or 30 horsepower, whatever the number is. So
I've seen that on TikTok where you was talking about that. Yeah.
So even then, though, the ease of use, you have a battery and power in your ground, and your alternator wire. Everything else is virtually plug and play, plus anything you want to add in there. And when you look at it like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use a factory computer in an older application. They've simplified the harness. They've took all the crap out. You don't have to cut the harness down. The Ford control packs are okay. We've done Hemis We've had some 6.4s swapped into some older stuff. We use Terminator on those. It worked pretty well. Yeah, we definitely and that's why we got into Holley. That's going
So
to
is
be
there
the
any?
way to go.
Let me ask you this: I've been seeing this. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to try this, or I don't know that I ever will. But somebody on one of the Holley forums the other day was talking about a Terminator X. The Holley Terminator X only controls high impedance injectors.
Mhm.
Well, someone was saying that you can add the injector driver box to it and drive low impedance injectors. You know if there's any truth to that? I still don't
think
know
so.
that would. That's going to get those guys that want to. I don't want to say budget, but kind of stay on the budget end of it. Allow them to get the low impedance if they need a bigger injector like a billet atomizer, which I wouldn't have with your money, but you can get the Holley 220s or the Siemens Deca 220s, which are low impedance.
So you can definitely get a good low impedance injector a lot cheaper than you can deal with a high. And the Terminator series was never designed for what a lot of people are doing with them. And don't get me wrong, I think it's cool, but they were trying to keep the cost down. And part of the way they were trying to keep the cost down is it uses a generic Bosch 4.9 sensor. Okay. They don't do NTKs. They don't do whatever. And then of course the injectors, you only get to control the one type of injector, not both, because that requires more money to have a driver that can do that. But
Absolutely,
it's not a software limitation in that aspect. It's a hardware limitation. So if you want to add the injector driver, yeah, it'll do it. It just won't do it out of the Terminator because the hardware is not capable.
Yeah. I just seen that the other day and thought that was pretty neat. I mean, of course, I don't know if there's any truth to it, if you can or not, but
I've never tried it, but I wouldn't see that it wouldn't. There are some limitations that they just haven't programmed in yet, but I don't think that's one of them.
right. Yeah, I got you. Well, it would have made it. And now they got I/O modules for the Holley term. Well, they got I/O module you can attach to anything, but now you can put that on the Holley Terminator, and as long as you're not trying to control the factory populated control items, it'll control anything else. So now you've taken a Terminator and you've added 8 inputs, 8 outputs. You can add the Pro Dash, which gives you, I think, 8 inputs.
That's actually really common is people will run one of the Pro Dashes and use those inputs and outputs. And the only thing to keep in mind there, of course, is you don't want to use anything that requires a very fast reaction. You're going to have a delay going module to module. So you do have to be careful with anything you need a fast response out of. But if you're, using it for something that doesn't require that, then absolutely. Now you add a dash, you have a cool dash, and now you have all these extra inputs and outputs. Or like you said, you add the CAN module, and you add
it's all data loggable. Yeah, it's all data loggable.
So that's to your question earlier about whether I'd rather see a factory ECM or a Terminator, especially if they go ahead and they put in the fuel pressure sensor, because a lot of people don't put that in there when they do the Terminator installs or Holley installs in general. But if they put that in there, all of those channels are data logged. So, yes, it's convenient to be on the dyno, but we have customers from Texas, Michigan, Florida, wherever. And obviously it's not real convenient if they have a little issue with fuel pressure or this or that, and they're like, man, I got to take it home and fix it. And they fix it and they don't want to bring it all the way back because 99% of the work's done. Well, on a factory computer, you better have a wideband. You better have HP tuners. You better be logging it so I can see what it's doing before I give you the okay that everything looks good. With Terminator, you start the log, you go make a hit, it pulls it off the factory wideband. Every data channel in that computer is logged for the time of that log.
Right.
And you can send me the file and I can open it up and you don't have to go through all the crazy stuff.
Right. Yep. No, I got you. Chris, you watching football or what are you doing there?
Yeah, football.
Who's winning?
Right now, Detroit.
Detroit who? Pistons?
Detroit Lions. It's football.
Red Wings.
Oh, yeah, the Detroit Red Wings. They're up. What's the score?
or like 21-7 or some shit.
Damn, that's pretty high in hockey.
Beating San Francisco.
San Francisco Bears.
Yeah.
What? Am I missed something? Well, I'm trying to read through the comments. If you're running atomizer injectors, you need drivers for any Holley EFI. Just a matter of time until you burn out a. I wonder, is that Mitch? If it says Facebook user, I just wonder if that's Mitch Lidecker.
Might be, I don't know. I
Yeah,
got it.
and
So I'm good.
yeah, and I mean he's right. I've heard a lot of that talk. I've only had atomizers one time, and about the third or fourth, and I don't know. I might have had them on there for a couple of months, maybe. And I had pre-filters, post-filters, just like Aeromotive was my fuel system, just like they wanted. You got to have filters. More filters, the merrier. And I had one atomizer hang open.
Ryan Roberts.
Yeah. Had one atomizer stick, and it wreaks havoc. And I was like, nope, these are junk. Throwing them in the trash. I'm going back to my Siemens Decas. I've never, knock on wood, had an issue. Had 16 of them in the El Camino. Yeah, Mitch said it'll burn the driver out. Now, I don't know how much cleaner I could have been with them. I didn't like them. I just didn't want them. So there are a lot of people that run them, but I do know that they can wreak havoc if you're not careful.
Yeah, Ryan probably has more experience with that than me, and you probably also do, Mike. Obviously, we deal with a lot more streetcar stuff, so we don't see low impedance injectors quite as much. So I don't have a lot of information on that, but I'm also not surprised, and I don't know if it's a Holley control issue or just a demand of the injectors because of the way the internals are, but I'm not surprised. So
yeah. No, while we got a few people in here now, let me throw up some of this. Some people might not have seen this, so I want to show this. Chris, what were you doing?
Trying to get my trailer out to go pick up my car. I'm gonna put some mud tires on that bitch.
You might ought to trade it in. Get a Ford, you won't get stuck.
Trade it in. I'm building a race car.
So I'll show this again while we got a few people in here. That was the total weight of the S10. Lady Michelle, I haven't seen her comment in here. I don't know that she watches the live feed, but she won. She guessed 3,005 pounds. That's about it. That's all the pictures I'll show for now. I don't want to talk about the other pictures just yet. Really, I don't want to talk about them at all, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, Eric was there when the atomizer stuck in my truck, and it literally was like a fire hose coming out of the exhaust. One, I don't remember what size mine were now, 600. They were actually Moran, but I think they were 600s or 650s, or I can't remember. But just one, while it was running, it did start, fired up, and just like gusher out of the 4-inch pipe, just blowing all over the wall. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Lucky it didn't bend a rod or anything like that, but you take the injector out, blow through it backwards, pop it with at that time I had a little Amazon, a single injector. You hook up a 9-volt battery and you could actually pulse the injector, kind of a cheap injector cleaner, blow through it, put it back in, and you're good to go. But I'm not down with that. Eric wants to know when we're going to see some S10 on F-150 action. So Eric, I've got him so scared he's listed the F-150 for sale.
Oh man.
Yeah, with your 800 horsepower. No, I will not probably make another pass in the F-150. If it doesn't sell, I'll keep it. I love it. But it is time for a new project, and that's a lot of money sitting there. So we're in the process of refreshing the transmission, but we're only going to get on a factory lockup clutch. 11 passes, that lockup clutch is fried. So, I'm going to sell it with the transmission fresh, everything fresh. So I won't be out making hits. Mike's got me on this one. You can put that as me chickening out or whatever you want, but
He's scared, Eric.
I'm terrified. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Mitch,
So
I guess.
go ahead.
I want to see if Mitch. So I guess when you do the driver module, obviously it's designed to handle the amps of the like billet atomizers and things like that. I guess that doesn't necessarily. Well, I guess it fixes burning the injector driver out of the ECU, and I guess maybe it could still possibly burn the driver module up, but that's a lot cheaper fix than it is the ECU.
Well, they may have a more robust driver in those external modules too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do. It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know either. I assume it's some kind of a big solid state jobber that I don't even know what's in there. I had one, but I don't know what the hell it was. Will you let him use the four-wheel drive versus the S10? Right now, he could take the wheels off of it, run on the brake rotors, and run out of my life. So
No, I would have to push the truck.
we're in mine too.
We're in the same boat. We're too old to be doing this shit. All right.
Yeah, I'm glad mine's lighter.
Yeah. We I don't have a prayer against Mike on any prep track. That is a 4,500 pound F-150. It is not designed as a full race truck. Now, that being said, I will tell you that, depending on what Mike runs on a virgin surface, I can go out here in front of the shop, do a quick burnout, and run a 6.0 all day long. But I'm not going to go faster than a 6.0 if I go to any kind of traction or any kind of track event or anywhere that's prepped. I'm stuck at 6.0. I mean, anybody runs faster than a 6.0 is going to whoop my ass on any prep track. That's just how it's going to be. But you catch me outside, well,
Yeah.
I can put up a fight.
Oh yeah,
As long as they
That
can't
level-
hook, I can put up a fight.
that levels the playing field for sure. And I actually, I allow all-wheel drives in my class, and which, if you follow the live feeds, you know about the whole big stink. You know where we're at now, and actually, I've got the rules, whatever. But I still am allowing all-wheel drives. But there's stipulations to be an all-wheel drive because we only had two guys that would even be in the running, and that was Greg, and the other one was the white one, Robert Lowe.
Yeah.
And those were the only two even had somewhat of interest in the race that I'm trying to put on. So when it come down to it, I had to make everybody happy. Of course, nobody wanted all-wheel drives when it come to the next race. Everybody thought it was, all-wheel drives were just blasphemy. Like, why are you letting them in your race? I'm like, because it's okay to race all-wheel drives, but to keep them happy, I had to do certain things for the all-wheel drive guys, like, no, you can't run 4 slicks and things like that. So, but the 4-wheel drive is absolutely an advantage if we were to go right out here in front of my house and make a pass right there. The all-wheel drive crap it's definitely got the advantage. Lean forward at the finish line to go a 5.99.
So let me tell a story here. Possum did a really good job of prepping the track when it was getting cold. And so the F-150 has nitrous. We have not used it. We were trying to get everything else lined out, and we thought we were going to get a little further on it before basically the pump exploded. Or it didn't explode, but it broke, it lost pressure. And I went to the track and I went like a 6.02 or something at 118. And at the top of first gear, second, because I'm launching second, it started to get a little hairy, and I let off and just got right back in it, and I crossed the finish line, and I was like, man, if I hadn't let off that damn throttle, that was it. So right back up in the line I went. I actually took some of the temperature-based timing pull out of it. It should have put me I should have broke 120 trap speed. It should have added about 3 degrees or so, and I was like, all right, that should be enough to get me a little extra insurance. Halfway through first, red line.
Yeah. Now,
red line and valve flow.
The pass before, is that the one where Roxy was in the truck and you recorded the draggy and put that on?
No.
Was that pass? Oh, okay.
No. So that was actually a couple of weeks prior, and
okay.
The 2-step it wouldn't engage. So it was on a contact switch under the brake pedal, and we've had problems. So now it's on a push button. It works perfect. But so I didn't have a 2-step. Those were some 620 passes. God, if you guys have not seen those videos, go find them. They're absolutely hilarious. And to her credit, she screamed bloody murder all the way down the track. She's rode the truck before, but she's
Yeah.
never felt, even though the truck isn't that much faster on a prep surface, the initial G-force that you feel when those tires don't spin, it goes from like 1.8 to like 2.3, 2. That's, I mean, you feel it. And her visor fogged up. She couldn't see anything. She didn't know where she was going. And I was like, she's never going to ride in the truck again with me. And I went and I was talking to Don Dottie or somebody, and I walked back over towards the truck, and she's over there with her helmet on, swinging her arms, ready to go.
Yeah.
We get back in the truck. She screams bloody murder all the way down again.
Yeah.
Love it. Best thing
That
ever.
was funny. That was funny. Yeah,
Best thing
that was
ever.
funny. Oh crap! Yeah, that was funny. Is it on your personal Facebook, or is it on the Greg's Tuning Operation, or is it on all of them?
I've posted it everywhere. So I've posted it on the business page. I posted it on TikTok. And then for her birthday on January 5th, I posted on my personal page again.
Yeah, I got you.
So, and I'll
It's
gladly
funny.
post them again.
Yeah, yeah, and you were just nonchalant about like, are you okay?
Yeah, you get a little used to it. So, you know, back when I had my Camaro, you would go to the track and it would cut, I don't know, 1.4, 60, 1.3, whatever it ran. And you'd feel the G-force. You'd feel your stomach come up. You'd feel all this stuff. And then you'd go out on the street and you'd launch it, and it's a pedal fest, and you're trying to get it going. And I mean, it might pull a G. And so I forget that even people that have been in fast street cars have never been on a prep track where it's going to pull 2 Gs. And that first launch in the Ford, when it goes all-wheel drive and it pulls 1.8, 1.9 Gs, even on the street, that they're freaking out. You know, I made a hit with one of my employees in the truck after we got it together this last time, and it did something. I thought it did something weird in the shift, and I asked him about it, and he was like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. I was just along for the ride. He was like, why didn't you warn me about that? I'm like, I forgot. You know, because it does exactly what a car will do at a prep drag strip. It hooks and goes, and you get hit with that G-force.
Yep. Aaron Wallace, so he can vouch for the G-force feeling. He's the guy that bought the little Mustang off of me, and mind you, Aaron, so he bought a Trans Am off of me, like a 02 or 01 6-speed car, and you know how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they feel like they're a rocket, you know. And so he bought that off of me some time ago, and you know they loved it. And anyways, he ended up selling it, and blah blah blah. Well, so I listed the Mustang for sale, and he come up to the shop. He's really interested in it, and I told him, you know, like this is a little more than a 01 model Trans Am. I mean, the little car runs good. I'm not selling it because it doesn't run good. What is that? Oh, there, yeah,
My Facebook banner.
yeah. So I told Aaron, I said, well, I'll take you for a ride in it. I mean, not that I don't trust you driving it, but it's just not your everyday, you know, stock street car. So we go outside of Van Duzer, no CO2, no boost controller, nothing like that. I think it makes 2.5 pounds on the wastegate. And we take off down the road, and I'm rolling, you know, 30, 40 mile an hour, and I roll into it because it's got an 85 millimeter Borg Warner turbo on it. It takes a minute for it to actually zing up, you know, because it's just a stock 5.3 motor. So I lay into it, and I mean, we start rolling pretty good. We, you know, let off the gas, we slow down, and he's like, my God, you know, I just kind of get I see him over there just hanging on to things or whatever. So I'm like, okay, you know, so I turn the CO2 on, we get some heat in the motor, we get outside of Van Duzer, and I just a really slow boost ramp. I think I had it on 10 or 11 pounds, whatever it was. And anyways, we made a pass. And now I think I talked about this on the last live feed. To me, it doesn't feel fast because I'm used to going faster, you know. So it feels like a Sunday drive. Aaron is over there. Mind you, he's 6'1", 6'2", 330 pounds. He's a big old boy. He's got his feet on the dash. He's hanging onto the roll cage, hanging on. He's like, in his head, he's just like that. So, you know, we get her shut down, and we got back to the shop. He was like, I felt my eyeballs pull into my head. He was like, that's the fastest thing on the country, you know, Which that sold it on him. That sold it right there. That was it. He had to have it. So
When you're not ready for it, when I had my Camaro, Jeff Hampton had a Pro-Charged Jeep, 6.1 SRT Jeep, and we were out tuning. It had a small converter and a Pro-Charger, and we launched across an intersection. Okay, he pulls up at a stop sign, and there's a slight ridge, and he just launches across that, and it felt like I was in my Camaro at Sykeston on a sticky prep night.
yeah,
And I was like, I want that.
yeah, absolutely.
So Nick, man, so I don't know if you guys were there that day. We raced, and he whooped my ass down at Benton, but we were supposed to rematch. But again, the story of that truck is that the transmissions, those 10 speeds, they're a wear item when you're starting to make 1,200 horse and 4,500 pounds, and the converter clutches, the lockup clutch will wear, and then the internals will wear. And that day, it popped a snap ring out. And hush, Eric. So, yeah. So
I won't do it.
So one of those turbos make more horsepower than anything Eric's ever had. So
Damn.
he deserves that one. So we were supposed to, and I was looking forward to a rematch. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen with this particular with this truck, unfortunately, because like I said, it's just I don't want to go out and wear on it now that we're going to have everything refreshed, back together, ready to go. The next owner can take it and do whatever they want to do. And like I said, if it doesn't sell, it'll just stay apart. I'll take some shows. I'll turn the boost down or whatever. And if I turn the boost down 6-7 pounds or something like that, it probably would last a long time. It's just not going to do it on kill. It won't last long.
Nick, he said we can get it on his next one, though. He said line up. He'll race us all day long.
Yeah, it's going to be slow. You can kick my ass again, but by God, we'll do it.
Well, that's not you was talking about the other day in the shop. You was talking about how fast they are.
They're okay. I also know how fast he's getting to.
Oh, well, I don't know how fast Nick is. I've seen his
faster than an F-150.
Faster than F. Well, that don't take much.
Well, especially when I forget to put it in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. Then it becomes a smoke show, huh?
9,000 RPM. Done that a few times.
I hear you. Well, we've been on here about 1 hour and 7 minutes. Seems like time flies when you're having fun. I believe Chris fell asleep. I just woke him up.
No, I wasn't.
He's looking a little groggy over there.
I'm telling you, every Sunday night he does the same thing. He gets on here, turns the phone on, and he watches football.
No, I watch. I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm
looking forward to seeing
more than anything.
You do what now?
Watch Eric lie. He said he pushed my car. He's full of shit.
Yeah, he said he pushed your car uphill, weighs 2,200 pounds.
I didn't have a winch in that truck. We never got it in there.
Looking forward to seeing your new build, man. Those trucks seem to be selling really well. You would have gapped us.
You never know what happens. I think I'd ran a faster number at that time, but anything happens in racing, it did. So I got my ass whooped.
Anything can happen in racing. Nobody's for sure guaranteed to win. Oh,
can you block him?
Why would I want to block Eric? That's terrible. That's your welder, Chris.
I brought a shovel for all the bullshit he talks.
Greg brought a shovel. Why didn't I think of that?
I don't know. It's got to be so deep over there. I mean, you got to have waders.
It's pretty rough at times.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough. It is. I didn't let it get too deep in here tonight. You and I pick at each other a lot. And I thought, I'm not going to do that tonight. We're just going to take it easy and chit chat. And you come loaded for bear with my dyno numbers and everything. I got nothing. I got this. That's what I got, a Sodi.
Yeah.
Huh.
I honestly expected you were going to pick a little bit. So,
No.
The shovel joke was saved for you, but I think it actually fits Eric a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Eric ought to come with his own shovel.
I called it 2 months ago.
Yeah. People should follow him with those little doggy bags they use for dogs at apartment complexes.
Yeah. All right, guys, I've got to go back to work. I got a few things I got to do, and enjoyed it, guys. Come home soon, Greg.
Roxy, you might have to fight Eric. He's saying he misses me. I may have to go visit him.
Yeah. I believe Roxy's scrappy enough she could take him.
Hear me out. I have an idea for your next lifey next Sunday now.
Uh-oh.
We'll find a ring.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Look,
She's
Eric
thinking.
said, miss you too, Greg. All right, guys. I'm about tired. Like I said, I got some stuff I got to do, and I still ain't ate supper. So,
Me
Well,
too.
thanks for having me, Mike.
yeah, I appreciate you coming on here, Greg. And
Good seeing you
chit-chatting
too,
with us.
Chris.
Yeah, see you too, Greg. I got to
Yeah.
go put a motor in my car. I got to get off here.
Oh, boy. All right, guys. We're out of here.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.